My name is Nankak Tsetu, and I live with Sickle Cell Disease. I am from Plateau State, Nigeria. I'm from Panshin. I stay in Jos with my siblings. And I trained as an architect, University of Jos. And then I do a lot of freelance jobs. I design spaces, and then I have a passion to lecture someday. So I hope to be a lecturer. So.
Thank you, Nankak, for coming through to sit with me and discuss SCD. So, as a person living with sickle cell disease, tell me about your childhood.
Okay, my childhood it wasn't really the normal. Wasn't the normal childhood that a child would have, because I always had constant hospital visits. But then I remember I would not be able to go to school sometimes because I was having crises. Sometimes I would sleep in the hospital for some days and then miss school. But then generally, I think my parents tried to make it normal for me. But then, as the challenge with sickle cell comes, I guess it was a bittersweet experience though. But my childhood was fun, sha. My siblings tried to make it fun for me. We always tried to play, even though I wasn't allowed to play outside a lot, but then I played indoors a lot. I remember doing a lot of picture puzzles, Scrabble, and then I played a lot with my siblings. I'm the last one, so they helped me so
How many
much.
siblings do you have?
I have 4 siblings. We are 5. Yeah. So one is a boy, the rest are girls. So it was a girls' camp, sort of.
So, having these episodes of crisis happening to you like every now and then, keeping you in the hospital for sometimes extended periods of time, as a child or as a student, how did that affect you academically?
Well, it didn't really affect my performance because I was always able to catch up. My teachers in school and my classmates really helped me. They always made sure that I catch up on the things that I needed to do and the things that I missed out. And God helped me. I never really repeated a class, and then it was good. It was good, yeah.
How often do you have these occurrences of crisis?
Well, it depends. So sometimes I have major crises, major incidents, and then for that one, I think the last one I had was last year around April. I had a major crisis and I was down. But then sometimes I get just minor pain, sometimes like in weeks, or one day I could just wake up and I would just have pain. So for the smaller crisis, I would say the frequency could be every week or every month or so. But then for the major ones, that's the one that will knock me out, and then I'll have to be in the hospital sometimes once a year or so. I'm quite lucky because it's not so for others. I have friends that have occurrences every month, and they have to go to the hospital and get treated for that.
Managing yourself from, let's say, home or at the hospital, do you have an idea what they do to you to put you back together when you have these pains and your body attacking itself?
Yes, so I try to manage myself at home. Whenever I notice that I'm coming down with pain, I always take my routine drugs, which is daily. I take my daily medicine. I try not to skip, even though it's hard. I always take water. Water is very important. I'm always with a bottle of water. And then I go to the hospital for routine checks. and I sleep under mosquito nets because malaria is not my friend. I know that. I always cover myself with jackets. I always walk around with jacket because extreme weather is not good for me. So I always wear jackets, and then extreme cold weathers, and then for extreme heat, I try to make sure that it doesn't affect me also, because extreme heat could be dangerous too. And then at the hospital, well, I know what they do usually when down, and then I go to the hospital. They usually would give antibiotics or fluids like drip, then they'll put, and then there are painkillers also that they give. Painkillers also help, they work. So I guess that would be it.
Are you the only one in your family that has this?
No, so it's two of us, me and my immediate elder sister. So it's just two of us that have sickle cell in my family. Yeah, the rest are sickle cell free.
How is her own?
Well, hers has been better than mine. Yeah, because she hardly comes down with crisis, but when she does, it's usually more severe than mine. So, but then she has found something that works for her. So she's always taking tea. There's this tea she does with lemongrass, turmeric, and ginger. So it's a mix, and then she takes it every morning and every evening. So it boosts her immune system, and then it helps her too. And then she doesn't stress herself. I stress myself more than she does, so I guess that also helps. But for her, it's a lot better than for me.
So is architecture stressful for you, or what kind of stress?
Yes. Architecture stress, and then I'm someone that likes adventure too. So I love to take on projects that would take me outdoors. Things that I volunteer also a lot. So I get to go to certain locations and then do what I need to do. So those things take their toll on my body. They add to my stress levels. So but then it's fun. I enjoy it. It's something that I know that I'll have to find a way to balance it with my work. But then the architecture part too, yes, I remember architecture school. We would sleep in the studio drawing, and then projects can last like maybe for a month. You're just drawing and doing, and then going to site and all of that. So architecture also adds to the stress.
Do you have other friends that live with SCD? Maybe probably those in the community you're part of. And how are they coping?
Okay, yes, I have. Yeah, I have a lot of friends that live with sickle cell. Some are married and some are not. And then let me talk of a few. I remember my friend Grace, she got married recently, and she could fall ill almost every other week, sometimes when the rainy season comes. And then she's always taking, she always has to take painkillers. And then at some point, her body, I don't know, there's this resistant thing that your body gets if you keep taking a particular type of drug. So, and then she needed to take stronger, more stronger painkillers. And then it really affected her at some point. She had a partial stroke. And then it wasn't well for her. It's more challenging for her. And then I see her, and I'm always trying to be careful, so that I don't stress myself so much. But then she's doing quite well. I have other friends who, despite the challenges, they have gone on to become to do amazing things, with their lives, and then they're coping quite well. There's Saa, who has who was a banker. She worked in the bank, and then eventually she stopped and then started her own business. And then I have also a friend who also studied architecture, and then she's into interior now. And then she's been quite strong.
So, do you have a club or a group that you are part of, kind of like a club or society where you guys take care of each other during these
Yeah, well,
occurrences?
yes, in JOS, there are some platforms that do advocacy and awareness on sickle cell. Let me talk about the one that I am a part of. So, I and a very senior friend, Ms. Melissa, came together and tried to have a support group. There was a support group that she was running because she had, two kids who are warriors also. But unfortunately, we lost two of them. So she became passionate about the work, and then I attended one of their trauma healing workshops that was organized, and then I caught the vision. And right now we are trying to register and then set up a foundation here in Jos that would cater to the needs of warriors in Jos specifically. We want to start with Jos before we'll see how we get funding to move. So we are trying to register G and J Herculean Sickle Cell Foundation to support warriors who are living in Jos. We already have meetings that we run every month. It's monthly, so warriors just come and then we just have a time of sharing our experiences, what has happened to us during the month, and then we encourage ourselves, and then we also encourage each other to trust God for sustenance and to keep us. So that, and then I also know of others. There's Alpha and his team that are running something similar also for warriors in Jos. So that is the few that I know about.
So, for times when you are sick and you have to be at the hospital for extended periods of time, I sometimes wonder how you go about the medical fees, because I know they can cost a lot. Is there like a government intervention or some aid that helps to take care of medical bills for people living with sickle cell, maybe in the form of subsidies or health insurance?
Well, like I said earlier, there hasn't really been a lot of funding for NGOs who try to support people living with sickle cell. Personally, for me, I remember last year when I was really sick and I was in the hospital for about a week. I had to be transfused with blood, and I was also on oxygen, and it cost a lot, like hundreds of thousands. And then most of the money had to come from my pocket and my family. It was a personal thing, and family and friends just try to chip in what they can, but mostly there hasn't been funding for warriors. Yeah, we call ourselves warriors. For warriors who go to the hospital and then for routine checks or when they're on admission in the hospital. Most times it's from our pockets. So, and then it is costly. It's not, I wish there would be a sort of government insurance, a sort of health insurance that the government could work out, because treating sickle cell crisis is actually very expensive, and if there was a way to subsidize, it would go a long way to help a lot of warriors, so that we don't have to keep working and then spending a lot of our funds, in the hospital, trying to be fit, trying to be strong and all of that. So
Okay. All right. So, coming to like the society, do you feel like there is a misunderstanding of people living with sickle cell disease? Because I know sometimes people see warriors as weak people, and not want to involve them in some certain activities, or maybe even stigmatization, just plain avoiding them, probably, not giving them equal opportunities in things like jobs, or all of that. What is your experience? Tell me about it.
Yes, it happens. It happens a lot and quite frequently also. So people just see warriors as people who maybe the next day, like they're just looking at them as walking corpses. I have heard people use those terms on warriors, which is not good. I mean, warriors are, yes, physically we are not strong. We have fragile immune systems, and then our bodies cannot take on a lot of stress as an average human would. But then there's something that I have realized that we have. What we do not have physically, we make up for mentally. A lot of warriors I have come across are super intelligent people. Yes. So for jobs, I can say for myself, I have been denied an opportunity once for a job posting that I applied for because they thought I wouldn't be able to handle it. And then they didn't want someone who maybe today would come in and then not come in tomorrow. But then we are trying to, a lot of advocacy is going into these things. People should not exclude warriors. In organizations, there are lots of warriors that have done so well, remarkably well. And then they are examples to show that if given a chance, warriors can do well in organizations. We can work, and then we can contribute to our own quota to society.
Relationships, and I mean romantic relationships. Have you ever fallen in love with someone and had a relationship going on, and due to the genotype incompatibility, probably finding out later that the person is incompatible with you, and had to end things? What is your experience? Tell me about it if you've had any of these kind of
Yes, that
experiences.
happens. That happens. For me, yes, I have had to end a relationship over genotype incompatibility, and it is one of the hardest decisions that I've ever had to make. So mostly warriors need to be careful when going into romantic relationships, because sickle cell is something that is inherited. It's something that you get from your parents, and then it's been passed down. So if you have sickle cell, you should always watch out that your partner should be someone who is AA. You cannot date someone who is AS, or worse, someone who is SS. It doesn't work. Like, you are just going to set yourself up for a lifetime of heartache and pain. And then I've had people who discriminate also on warriors just because they feel they would not make great wives or great husbands or great mothers or great fathers. But that is not true. There are a lot of warriors who are great fathers and mothers and grandparents and grandfathers and mothers and aunties and uncles. Yeah. So I think there shouldn't be discrimination. Once you have found out that your partner is compatible, that is just the thing that you need to watch out for. Your partner should be compatible with you. And there are a lot of, you have to take the test, and then just make sure that the person is compatible. That's the watchword. And I guess every other thing just falls into place.
Have you ever at any point, be it during the pain of one of your crisis episodes or just in a normal day, thought about or even blamed your parents for the condition that you are in? Like, have you had a conversation with them? Is it a case of ignorance, or it was intentional? Maybe they didn't want to separate from each other. Have you had that conversation with them?
Okay. Well, unfortunately, my parents are late, so I haven't had the opportunity to have that conversation. But then, from the way that I related with my father before he passed on, I knew that if he could have avoided this, he wouldn't have done it. So I know that they did not know at their, when they were about to get married, they didn't have they were ignorant. Yeah, they were ignorant of all of this, of their genotypes, the incompatibility. So I know that it was out of ignorance. So I never blamed my parents, but I have come across people who have blamed their parents, and rightly so, because the parents knew that they were incompatible and they went ahead, and then they gave birth to children who are suffering. And well, one wouldn't I would sympathize with someone like that, because I think it is a wicked thing to do to your child. No child should go through this, especially in this era of information and enlightenment. I see no reason why two grown adults would come together to put a child through, go through this pain. At best, I would say that if your genotype is incompatible and you have to continue, then you should subscribe to a childless marriage. Don't even try. Don't gamble it. It's not worth it.
Have you lost someone, maybe a friend or a family member, to sickle cell disease?
Yes, I have. I have lost some friends, some close friends, to sickle cell. Last year, I think I lost Ido died, and then I was right there in the hospital. I went to see him, and it was so painful. And then in my support group, we lost 2 people also, and then it's unstabilizing. Like, it gets me emotionally. Like, it's really hard. It was hard for me to pull myself together and move on. Yeah, because these are people that I loved. These are people that we struggle together, we talk together, we share experiences, and then one day you wake up and they're gone. But then, well, I'm just happy because I know that they are resting. Yeah, I hope that they are resting, and death is something that would come to everyone eventually, whether you live with sickle cell or not. So the thing is, just get prepared, because you never know when it would happen.
Does that make you fear? Have you ever had, fears from
Yes.
someone on your side dies, or maybe when you have crisis and you're like, oh my God, I hope I'm coming out of this one again?
Yes, true. Like I would always reference to last year, because last year was really, it was scary for me, because like I said, I had to be transfused and I was on oxygen and I wasn't breathing well, and I really thought I was going to die. I look at it now and I can laugh, but while it was happening, it was a tough time for me. It was a tough time for my family. It was a tough time for my friends, because really I probably wouldn't have gotten out of it if I didn't have prompt medical care, and then while I was at the hospital too, someone died beside me, and it puts much fear into me too. But then I know that as long as my life, is in God's hands. My life, I've always thought that way. I know that when the time comes, and my mission and my task that God has given me in this life is over, I know that it's going to come and I would go. But then sometimes I get that fear. I get scared that this episode might be my last. But then I just hope and pray, and trust God that He's going to keep keeping me.
Any other final words?
Yes, so I would say that I'll talk to warriors first, and then I'll talk to parents or intending couples. So for warriors, I would say that sickle cell, the pain is people usually do not understand, or sometimes when they think they do, they misunderstand how the pain is. Like sometimes I could just wake up and dress up, and I look forward to having a productive day. Then all of a sudden, the pain can just come. I could just be running and cooking and doing my normal activities, and then the next moment we are down. But then as much as you can as a warrior, I think that taking care of yourself is very important. Don't wait for anybody to tell you, oh, you need to wear warm clothing, or you need to take your medicine, or you need to eat fruits, or you need to drink water. Don't wait to be told. You need to actively take care of yourself. You need to take yourself to the hospital for routine checks. Don't miss an appointment and just feel, oh, I'm fine, and then just keep going. And then when you are stressed, you need to just calm down and rest as much as you can. And you can go on to live your best life. Like I dream to travel a lot, and I have started. And I do not want to say, I'm afraid, or I might fall sick or on your road or something. But just take charge of your life and do what you need to do. There's a lot that that is inside of you. I mean, like you don't let the stigma or discrimination or the pain to just keep you down, and then you don't get to do or make your life productive. So as much as you can, try to make your life productive. Don't subscribe to people who just pity themselves, or just take pizza and then just don't do anything. Don't subscribe to pity parties. I hate that, and I do not like to see it around me. And also to intending couples or to parents, I think intending couples first, don't go ahead and give birth to children who will suffer, who will always constantly be in the hospital or be in pain. It is not worth it. If you know you are not, your genotype is not compatible. And then to parents also, I think you should encourage your warriors. Don't give up on them, because it has a way of messing up, with their minds and self-esteem and stuff. So shout out to warriors who have gone ahead to do great things. We see you, and we know that you are an inspiration to a lot of us who are still trying to be like you, who are still trying to affect our world.
Awesome. So you mentioned something, and that was like one of the last questions I would have mentioned, is what are your aspirations and dreams and currently in life? I know you are not pursuing your architecture career again, and you want to, you at most want to lecture in that. So what are your other aspirations?
Okay, so at some point I fell in love with writing. So I I am pursuing that side of me.
As your hobby.
Yes, it's a hobby, but then I want to I want to make it more than a hobby. Yes, I would like to write my stories. I would like to use it for advocacy. I like to write a lot of stories for people, just travel around, meet, warriors like me and get their stories heard. I would like to travel the world, go see things outside the shores of this country. I also hope to have a center that caters for people living with sickle cell, where people could just come receive treatment at a subsidized rate, and then have maybe a recreational center that could help people to mentally unwind, because there are lots of issues. There is a lot of people easily could fall into depression when they have sickle cell. So I would like to have that. I would like to do that for my community, of people who live with sickle cell.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sitting down and discussing this, your story, telling us your story, and encouraging other warriors, and also speaking with intending couples and all of that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So we wish you all the best in your aspirations, in your
Thank you.
pursuing your hobbies and all of that. Gracias.